You know. Kim, you prepared a boatload of topics that stem from our conversation last week. Do you have any other questions or insights that might lead to further discussion on goaltending? I have developed like some fundamental movement exercises with goalies that I can do when I'm an assistant coach and the coach wants to work on other things, and I'm comfortable with it. They're all movement, stable balance, proper stance, mirroring your other goaltender in movements laterally, forwards and backwards. And that's all I do is focus on the stance. Now, when I was scouting, looking at goalies, sort of we all rely on the goalie coach. At least I did for most goalie selections with national camps. I didn't really look at them that closely. Look at their behaviors, look at their technique, look at their compete. But I did have as a scout a very simple observation. Number one, they have to stop the first shot. If they don't, we're probably not watching. If they stop the first and second shots, we're going to watch them. If they can stop the 3 shots in a row, you might be seriously keeping him. And it's nothing to do with the those techniques, you know, the nuances, just the ability to stop the puck. And over many years, there's been some pretty good goalies that we wouldn't consider as being very technical that stop the puck. And Dominic Hasek might be the best one. And you might call him unorthodox, but the level of compete is amazing in some goaltenders. And I look for that intangible quality in players, skaters as well. The level of compete is critical. But with a goalie, it comes through the character of compete. And not all kids have it. And not all players have that level of compete. But it's certainly becoming a scouting quality to look for that will make players get to a level we never imagined. So, Perry, go ahead.
Yeah, on a note, you mentioned Dominic Hasek. The one thing that he did that not a lot of people know is that, you know, with all the crazy moves that he made, I wish I still had it. I had a collage of him, and it was probably 30 to 40 different slides. And every one of those slides in various body positions, his eyes were always on the puck. It's absolutely phenomenal. His ability to see the release of the shot, no matter when it's coming. And he would do whatever it took to stop that puck. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that he was doing was seeing the puck. And it sounds really simple, but it's not. So when you talk about compete is great, but compete with seeing the puck too, phenomenal. And that's what he was. Anyway, I do have to leave soon, unfortunately. I have another call at 12:30, but I can't thank you guys enough for this call. I thought it was amazing. What a great panel that you've put together, Wally, of great hockey experts. And that's what I'll call these guys and ladies. I just love it. Seeing you, Kim. Great to see you. Wally, I can't thank you enough for the ability to be on this call. So thank you.
Perry, take care.
Great to have you, Perry.
Join us anytime, Perry.
I will do that. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Tim, have a great day. Everyone else, have a great day. Right? Take care, guys. See you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Here, Perry.
Rick?
Yeah, just to hitchhike on what Perry just said about Dominic Hasek, you might remember a fellow named Kiprusoff that played here for a day or two.
Same one.
One of the things that always struck me about him, he never lost sight of the puck. He had a bearing on it coming in, and he knew exactly where it went. And if he didn't, he sure found it in a hurry. It is a key component of good goaltending. Being totally aware as often as much as possible as to where the puck is.
Oh, I wish Perry had stayed on because I went to a clinic and an former NHL player now coaching, was doing a clinic, and he talked about teaching defense, well, how to play 2-on-1s. And the question I had was, we teach the defense to prevent the pass across, to delay the outside carry, and don't get beat. And one thing this clinician did with minor hockey coaches, and they were AA and above, he talked about Kiprusoff, and he wanted the attacker to overplay the puck carrier so he would throw it across. So Kiprusoff made that save because it was coached for. So I mentioned to him that, look, we're working with minor hockey coaches here, and we sort of are reared in a fundamental way to teach how to play 2-on-1s. And now all of a sudden, we've got this new technique of pressuring the puck. And I was a little concerned that fundamentally we're sort of conditioned to teaching a D how to play a 1-on-1 and a 2-on-1. Do you lay out, but you prevent that pass across. And in this case, you're encouraging it, and it worked for Kiprusoff. I'm not sure at what level. Now you're a coach. You create a tactic that's specific to allowing your goalie to be the best player on the team. At what age? Does that make sense here? Am I concerned? Anybody? Rick?
Well, my first thought on that, Wally, was a little bit of what I referred to earlier, where we're changing the game dramatically for one group of people. When they move on to a more traditional style of coaching, they're going to be poorly trained to deal with that. And I'm still advocate that we teach the basic ground rules of the game, and then when you get to a certain level where it's going to be exclusively in that group, yeah, you can do those things. But I wouldn't suggest what the Kiprusoff method to many kids in particular, because you're only going to set them up for disagreement with coaching as they move on up the line.
Okay. Anything else to add on the goaltending side?
I would just add, Wally, like on that point, I'm just again thinking about my U9s and even the U11s I coach. Like, I don't think that's a bad strategy. Like, again, at least as a skill set. Like, for example, we teach our players to wheel it out no matter what right now. And they say, well, what if there's, we say, don't worry about what if there's, just wheel. Try to hold on to the puck, right? See how long you can sustain it. Is that what I want them to do in junior hockey? Absolutely not. But based on their strengths right now, it actually makes a lot of sense, right? For the first half of this season, we told the U9 players, just hunt everybody down. We've just started doing 2-on-1s. And I would say the most effective strategy is going to be to hunt the puck carrier, because the chances of her making a pass through pressure and the other person being in the right place or receiving the pass is way less than our players' ability to attack the puck carrier and create a turnover. And I would argue that might still be the case in U11, but it has to be taught in a message of this is a tool to use, as opposed to this is always the right way to play a 2-on-1, right? But I think in the female game, at least, and certainly at the younger, lower levels, right, the more aggressive you are, the more it's going to work in your favor, right? The ability of players to execute tape to tape and make, east-west passes that create scoring chances, generally at the double B and B levels and at the younger age groups, is a much weaker skill than their ability to skate in and shoot it uncontested on the goalie. But again, as Tim always says, it's never, never, and always, always, or whatever it is. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I didn't go to Brown, but Yeah, so that would, for me, I would do that at the young age groups for sure. I would teach that, or at least more aggressive to the puck carrier, and see if they can make that pass. And hey, if at U9 those girls can make that pass and score off that pass, I mean, God bless them. Good job, guys. But if for team success, I would teach them to hunt that puck carrier.
A #1 draft pick, played in the NHL, running a conditioning camp doing 2-on-1s, and he came up and told me that played for Chicago. He said, "No, we take the puck carrier all the time. We force them to make a mistake early." My fear of doing it at a young age, Kim, is we've been reared on conventional playing of defense. And are we going to lose the ability to transition skate forwards to backwards? Because now we talk about surfing the puck carrier in all three zones, particularly the neutral zone, but now in the defensive zone. So the balance of transition skating, backward striding, mohawk pivoting, and the way we've taught how to play one-on-ones was always a mohawk, not a surf. So I don't know. I'm like you, Kim. I wouldn't do it that young, but if it's going to get results, but at what stage is backward skating not essential and pivoting not going to be a part of the game? Will they not develop it? So, Tim, go ahead.
Just really quickly, at no stage will backward skating be unimportant or pivoting be unimportant. No matter what the development of the game, I would argue that they're still essential skills because, well, the game's not going to change that much. You still have to be able to skate backwards efficiently and effectively and pivot efficiently and effectively. And I'm sorry because I just jumped out to tend to the kitty and get a cup of coffee. If we were talking defending 2-on-1s, were you just recently?
Yeah, we're talking about Kiprusoff and the fact that whoever was coaching at the time was doing a clinic, and he talked about we let Kiprusoff have the drive skater on the wide side. That was, he wanted him. He demanded it, and he made great saves that way. That's the way they played 2-on-1. So they pressured the puck carrier on the drive. And I question the doing that at a coaching clinic to AA and AAA coaches, and now all coaches beginning to adapt that technique. And what would happen in terms of development? Might increase outcomes. I guess Perry was on and say this might be a question. It's good for the goalies if they move well laterally and they're small, but I don't know. It's just a new way of looking at things and thinking about things. And Kim, your U9s, U11s, it does make sense in terms of competing, but like Tim said, relying on the still mastering all skills, all direction skating, with and without a puck at all positions. And positions are interchangeable. Today, there's much more interchangeability. Defense are involved in forward and direct attacks. And forwards have to cover behind. So it's all good discussion. I think it really makes sense. I'm not sure what I would do. So what are you going to do, Tim? Are you debating, advocating it now?
No, well, there's lots of subtlety here. Like, for starters, if you have a goalie like Kiprusoff at the elite level, and maybe you could say that's Bantam, AAA, and higher. If you have a goalie that says, "I want you to pressure the puck carrier because I'll take the off puck player and I'll take that breakaway." If you have a goalie that wants that, have at it, give it to him, because you could break up a lot of plays. But the flip side of that really is, if the goalie really wants that, why don't you give it to him and take away the pass all the time? Like, it's the same situation. And granted, the one difference is you don't have that opportunity to break up the pass, so I get that. But the other piece I would add is, and maybe this is something you could work with your U9s with, Kim, is the D recognizing is the player with the puck. Is her stick inside or outside? If it's inside, coming down the middle of the rink, two things. They have a better shooting angle on the goalie, making it harder for the goalie. The other thing is, if you can get them on their backhand by pressuring the puck, it's way tougher for them, especially U9s, but at any level, to make a good pass on their backhand to the open player. So that's maybe a starting point for pressuring on a 2-on-1, which I generally don't agree with, is if the stick is on the inside, then a better opportunity to pressure and a better situation to pressure in versus if it's on the outside. And that's, some detail, but even just that at a really young level, if the stick's on the inside, better chance to pressure. If it's on the outside, maybe give it more to the goalie. But the last thing and the most important thing for me is the D should always, once the puck is starting to get inside the circle tops, the D should always be in the prime scoring area. And you see it time and time and time and time again. NHL level, doesn't matter, where the D gets way outside at the dot line and gives up a clean breakaway down the middle. Like, that just makes 0 sense to me. 0 sense.
Okay.
Especially with all the Royal Road studies where even at the most elite levels, you should never score. Like, you score 1% of the time from outside the dot line. Why would you move outside there and give up a prime scoring chance down the middle? Makes 0 sense to me.
See, I'm sort of thinking about what Kim said before we get to Hal and Kim, and I'm thinking when you pressure the puck carrier all the time, it's in keeping with Kim's system of play. Always pressure the puck. If you're closest, pressure the puck. It reduces the options, provides less in time and space for the carrier, and it makes sense. Now we're conditioned through the situational possibilities of a 2-on-1 attack versus you're limiting the possibilities. And it's easier to skate forward in pressure and do that. So I'm scratching my head now, but I didn't play defense, but I did work with the national team on defensive tactical skills. And we spent so much time on transitional forward to backward skating and playing those situations. And this sort of does make a little bit of sense. And I guess it's worth discussing. So
I'll just interject before they go. You're also making less time for back checker help, and you're less time for rebound help if a shot does come. The longer you delay, the more time for back checkers to get back and help, the more time for back checkers to be in position to deny a second chance, which often results. There's no right answer. It's just all philosophy, but I'm definitely not a give the goalie a breakaway kind of guy. That's a grade AA chance. A 2-on-1 is a grade A chance, and I'll take my chances with the grade A. With that Kiprusoff exception. If you want a goalie that wants that, then give it to him. Or her.
Kim, your level, and then we'll go to Hal.
Yeah, I'm just playing with drills here. I sent you guys one and then I realized I forgot one. So I've been, to all your points, I've been doing some backward skating and some pivoting. So it's all getting addressed now that we're at full ice. Don't you worry. C cuts are coming out. And so I just sent the progression we've been doing the last 2 weeks. And it's worked out really well. It's just a basic 1-on-1 where there's no puck. So I think you can see there, like the attacker is on the red line, the defender's on the dot line, blue line. And it's a one-on-one, but it's a race to the blue ice. So there's no puck. And so the trigger we used, and on the practice ice we're on, the neutral zone is tiny. So the cue we've given the backward skater is she can't turn to go forwards until the attacker has crossed the blue line. And the timing of that, I kind of figured out, works really well for our age group, but they have to take some number of backward strides first before they can turn facing the player and try to beat them into the blue ice. And we've done that every practice. So certainly the practices, we have no goalies. There's no puck, but just that intention of turning and winning the race to the blue ice, I think is a really strong one, whether there was a puck or not, right? I mean, this is, if you get beat, you got to get back to the blue ice. If she's going to the blue ice, you got to get to the blue ice. So we started there. The coaches kind of gave me a weird look. They're like, that's not really a one-on-one. I'm like, no, this is the essence of a one-on-one. Then we added a puck, same drill. And then I actually made it a 1-on-2 next. Again, to increase that hunter's wanting and willingness to go and hunt the puck, right? Because of course we don't want both these backing in when it's only one puck carrier, but I see it all the time at U9 and U11 when players have been told, oh, well, you just back in. And then we make it a 2-on-1, then we make it a 2-on-2. So the girls kind of get the drills now. We've done it, I think, in about 4 practices. And so they know the turn and go drills. So we've got a tournament this weekend. We got 4 games. And we're setting goals for them this weekend for the 4 games. And what we've said is for each game, we want 3 great defensive hunts. That's the goal. So 3 great turn and goes where you hunt the girl down. And then that's, if they get the 3 a game, then we get a check mark. But any breakaways we give up is a -1, right? So it's kind of enticing them because we've given them this skill set now of turning and going, right? And now they've got a concrete goal for the tournament in each game to try to limit breakaways and maximize the number of time they hunt down the puck carrier. So, just simple, like they're so simple drills, but we'll see this weekend if they seem to have the performance effect we want. And we don't have, Ds per se. So everybody is doing those drills. And, we haven't even talked to the attackers about how to exploit that yet, because most of them will just skate down the wall. So we'll get there. I think that's where being able to teach these players something, like this is the first time they've ever heard probably what a 2-on-1 is their whole life. Like they're so new. It's actually really exciting. And it's fun for me to go, okay, like what's the most important thing here? Is probably winning the race back to the blue ice. Like to me, that's the most important thing that's going to translate, and then layering it on above that. So, you know what? It's worked out well, and it has with every team we play against. Again, there's 5 kids on every team who are way better than everybody else. They're not going to do great under pressure. They're going to do great in open ice, right? So it's a bit of it leads to success on a team level, but having watched so many of the older girls and older age groups, they're so timid. They go, like, it's not physical enough. There's not enough pressure put on properly. So if I can plant that seed early, I don't know. I think it will fare well for our girls in the long term.
Hell.
Yeah, I think there's actually a number of topics in that, and thanks, Kim, for sharing what you're doing. For these, I think there's a difference between girls and boys. Number one, I hate to say that, but my experience coaching them, even at the high school level, is they prefer to pass unnecessarily, and they will take themselves out of a great scoring position to pass to their friend. May or may not be in a good scoring position or get it done. What I've always, for many years working on 2-on-1s, my philosophy is obviously the defenseman has to go backwards, but then we have this conversation about who's the most dangerous player, the puck carrier or the non-puck carrier. And in my mind, it's the non-puck carrier is the most dangerous and likely to score. And so you sort of play them 50-50, maybe as you get across the blue line and start backing up towards your net. If the puck carrier stays outside, that's an easy save for my goalie. Okay, and so I tell my defenseman, our goal is to force him to shoot because he's running out of time and space. And if he doesn't have a clear passing opportunity because you now are drifting over towards and you're plugging up his passing lane, going to shoot it. And I tell him, I says, if it goes in, it's on the goalie. Because the goalie's had 60 feet to watch him come in and take that shot. But if you pivot and go to the puck, and as soon as you pivot and go to the puck, and the puck goes to the guy in front, now he's got a shooting goalie. He's got a moving goalie. Odds go up significantly that you're going to get scored on. But I also tell kids, when at the end of the play, when you come to the bench, you want the coach to yell at somebody else, not you. And so, take care of the business. So it's sort of a 50-50, and then it becomes like a 40-30. I mean, but then when you get down on the hash marks, great. As Tim said, you got to just be ready to battle in the paint.